Joe Rogan brutally criticized legacy media and explained why he has a big conflict with them. According to Joe, influential media magnates, including outlets like CNN and MSNBC, are destroying America. Also, the arguments Rogan presented and how he explained the disappointing behavior of legacy media toward himself are very self-explanatory. Then, Rogan responded to accusations from the media, addressing claims that he had lost the trust of his audience and his moral high ground. He said that behind-the-scenes processes are unknown to the public. So let's explain everything. So 2 days ago, Joe Rogan expressed his opinion on X and tweeted that he was astonished by media's manipulation of facts. Rogan criticized legacy media for becoming out of touch with the American people. Rogan also criticized CNN after they said that Trump's second presidency will look nothing like his first, and it will be far worse. CNN explained how, with the Republican Party now fully under his control and those who opposed him pushed aside, Trump will enter the Oval Office with past experience and strong feelings about how he thinks the system let him down. Unlike in 2016, when he won through the Electoral College, Trump is expected to win the popular vote this year. This would give him a chance to claim broad, nationwide support, something he didn't achieve last time, which frustrated him. Rogan responded to a clip from CNN, saying that this is a very dishonest take. According to Rogan, media is trying to fit into the woke agenda and have forgotten what real American values are. Then, Rogan responded to media's words, where they denounced Rogan. For example, CNN journalist released an article about Rogan called, "Don't Pretend You Don't Know What Joe Rogan Is All About," where Rogan was criticized for his views in the past. And there are a lot of other examples, where Rogan was denounced by legacy media. And Joe Rogan responded to this situation by saying that media, including CNN, need to be more honest, or they will lose more and more trust from people. Rogan said, "If you want to do better, just change your model and the way you operate." And this conflict between Rogan and legacy media is not new because everything started 4 years ago. That's when, in a 2020 episode of The Joe Rogan Experience, Joe made a comment on Twitter accusing the media of spreading lies very often. During the episode, Joe Rogan and Josh Barnett discussed their concerns over how the mainstream media shape public opinion by pushing selective narratives. He noted that even if the information they initially received was inaccurate, they continued to double down on it all the time. For Rogan, this approach represented a deliberate manipulation. Rogan expressed frustration with the media's refusal to admit mistakes, saying, "There's no admitting of mistakes anymore. There's no saying, 'I was wrong, we were wrong.'" He believed this lack of accountability stemmed from the media's obsession with maintaining control over the narrative. Comparing media behavior to other power structures, he argued, "You're giving people an inordinate amount of power, and when you give people that amount of power, they don't want to ever let it go, and they don't ever want to say they're wrong." This, Rogan felt, was a key reason why news sources resist presenting a nuanced view on complex topics. Rogan underscored his mission to provide an alternative space where people can come on and have conversations, adding that he tries to earnestly and sincerely explore things. He felt this openness was lacking in the mainstream media, where he saw little room for diverse viewpoints. Rogan explained that in his podcast, he doesn't need to tear down everything else around me for his show to exist. Instead, he offers a place for independent dialogue, standing apart from the controlled narratives of traditional outlets that, in his words, try to destroy you all the time. This stance resonated with his listeners, many of whom shared his frustration with the media's role in shaping public perception. And in the last few years, the conflict got even worse. Furthermore, in 2023, in the episode of Joe Rogan's show with Howie Mandel, they discussed how the legacy media often distorts information and uses its power to lead viewers in a certain direction. Rogan openly criticized the media elite and shared a video that illustrates this, showing how multiple news outlets were delivering identical messages. A clear example of what he and Mandel believed to be visible propaganda. They criticized how news, which should serve as a reliable fact source, was instead pushing narratives rather than delivering unbiased information. Rogan expressed his frustration with mainstream news, saying, "I can't watch any television news because, as he put it, I don't want to know what you think." He felt that these news sources were not just providing facts, but were trying to influence you by shaping the information to fit specific agendas. He explained that in the past there were only a few channels and newspapers, and they competed by gaining viewer trust. However, now they try to capture audiences by catering to their beliefs, creating echo chambers instead of delivering neutral news. Rogan also pointed out that many news stations were trying to bend a narrative in a very specific way for everybody, and while they warned about the dangers of misinformation, they were often spreading it themselves. This approach, he argued, keeps control of the information in their hands rather than allowing the internet and independent sources to contribute. He emphasized that this constant bombardment of biased narratives makes it hard for people to understand what reality is, as everyone becomes isolated in their own version of the truth, shaped by the information they consume. Same year, Joe Rogan, joined by guests Francis Foster and Konstantin Kisin, sharply criticized the legacy media's tendency to prioritize eye-catching headlines over honest reporting. Rogan noted that all they have to do is have a good headline, explaining that even if the article is nonsense, the headline alone often sways public opinion. He added, "They can even show you right in front of your face why what they're saying is incorrect, and it doesn't matter." For Rogan, this practice was a major flaw in the media. And today in 2024, conflict got even worse when Rogan mocked the media for being too predictable. Recently on the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan and Brett discussed the decline of mainstream media, noting how many news outlets seem more focused on pushing narratives than delivering genuine journalism. Rogan said he still had some faith in journalists, but felt that many were now acting like propagandists, which was contributing to the downfall of the industry. He mentioned how news channels like CNN had tried to regain trust but were failing. Rogan argued that mainstream media was losing its appeal because it lacked dynamic personalities who people could really trust. Instead, he observed that traditional news relied on familiar talking heads who didn't seem relatable or trustworthy. He explained that mainstream media would eventually have to either adjust or die, as audiences were increasingly turning to independent journalists who, unlike corporate news anchors, were willing to put their neck out there and address controversial topics with a genuine understanding of the issues, rather than ideological bias. Then, Rogan criticized MSNBC for deceptively editing a clip to make it look like he was praising Kamala Harris. Rogan clarified rumors that he was planning to sue MSNBC, saying, "I'm not suing MSNBC." Rogan explained, "But this is what MSNBC did. They took a clip of me talking about Tulsi Gabbard and they edited it up and made it look like I was saying great things about Kamala Harris." He accused MSNBC of not caring about the truth and just pushing a specific narrative, knowing that most people only skim headlines and assume they understand the full story. Rogan explained, "MSNBC took a clip of me talking about Tulsi Gabbard, edited it, and made it seem like I was complimenting Kamala Harris. They don't care about the truth," Rogan said about MSNBC. "They just want to push a story out to enough people, knowing that most are just surface readers who see a headline and think, I understand it now." And that's it for today.